Hello everyone, very good afternoon to all of you. Quite a bit of controversy going around. I'm sure all of you have been reading the headlines, and I haven't really gotten an opportunity to sort of discuss the farmer bills that came in late September. Good afternoon, Archana, Nikhil, Srishti, Diksha, Dheeraj, Meghna. Dheeraj says Jai Shri Ram. Jai Shri Ram to you as well. Dheeraj, how are you doing? So yes, quite a famous topic that we have today. Saif, very good afternoon to you as well. That we have to discuss today. Before we jump right into it, because there's quite a few legal points at least that I wanted to inform all of you. Of course, we will not go too much into the political question or exactly what the protests and why, but I will tell you an overview of the various laws, and I will also take you through what the Supreme Court has said and what the stay order currently is, what are the changes in relation to the earlier laws. Of course, we have for today and tomorrow the double dhamaka offer, which is 30% plus an extra 30% off, right, for the yearly green card, for the CLAT and the various other law examination. All of you can see the code that you can use, which is dhamaka 30. Some batches have already started in terms of the course launching, right, which is the booster crash course. Classes will begin Monday onwards, that is from the 8th of February, right? And of course, there are various reasons. There are various of these details. You know that you will primarily have NLU based people who will be assisting you, right? Like in the legal section, we have Nivedita, Surajit, as well as my humble self will be taking a few classes. We have a lot of revision classes, various quizzes, a truck full of mock examinations that we have planned for you as well, right? So 70 plus mocks should be enough practice with 8,000 plus questions and so on. Let us come to the farmers bills, or the farm bills as they are popularly known as, right? Is it an important topic for the CLAT? Nikhil, of course, this is a very important topic for CLAT. I would believe this is an important topic irrespective of the course that you are going to pursue. Like, I think some of you are probably pursuing business school. Somebody who's aspiring to be a law aspirant, is a law aspirant. Somebody who has an UPSC interview to give, or even a state PCS exam to give. I think this is an important topic for anyone for whom current affairs is part of the syllabus, and it's part of the syllabus for pretty much all examinations nowadays, right? So do keep a track of these important changes for sure. Like, this is of course an important part of your preparation. Now there are actually three, not bills, but there are three acts that have actually come in the late part of September last year, right? अब वो शुरू में इतनी बार फार्म बिल बोल दिया कि ऐसा लग रहा है अभी भी बिल ही है, right? But it is not a bill anymore. It is not a bill anymore. These are acts now, acts which have already come into effect because the president has also signed it and so on, right? There are two new laws that have come, and one is an amendment to the existing Essential Commodities Act of 1955, right? So what's the first one? Is the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act, right, which was earlier the bill, but it has now come into effect. We will try to remember this as the TC Act, right? Trade and Commerce Act, Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act, or the TC Act. Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act, right? So let's remember this as the Price Assurance Act. So there is the Trade and Commerce Act and there is the Price Assurance Act. And the third, जैसा कि मैंने बताया, the third one is not actually a new law, but it is changes or amendments to the existing Essential Commodities Act, right? तो क्या modification हुआ है वगैरह, we will of course come to that. Let me take a quick look at the YouTube chat in the meanwhile. Mihuka, very good afternoon. Aparna, hello, how are you? Sara, very good afternoon to you. Rudraksh, Uday, Abhishek को description ज़्यादा लंबा लगा. Nityank, very good afternoon to you as well. Shivani, okay, good to see all of you. Okay, so these are the 3 new laws जो आए हैं, right? These are not bills, these are now acts. So how does a bill become an act? With specific act we will go back to it, but just to be clear, basically either a bill is introduced in the Lok Sabha, अगर हम सेंट्रल लॉ की बात कर रहे हैं, अगर हम सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के लॉ की बात कर रहे हैं, तो पहले या तो बिल लोकसभा में इंट्रोड्यूस होगा या तो राज्यसभा में इंट्रोड्यूस होगा, राइट? इफ इट इज अ मनी बिल देन इट हैज टू बिगिन इन द लोकसभा, बट फार्मर्स बिल इज नॉट अ मनी बिल, तो हम ये कह रहे हैं कि पहले लोकसभा में पास हो सकता है इन एनी केस. लोकसभा actually has already passed it on September 17th, 2020. So some important trigger dates if you want to remember them. Rajya Sabha then passed it 3 days later on September 20th, and 1 week after the Rajya Sabha passed it, the President Ramnath Kovind has given his assent on September 27. So when both houses of parliament, दोनों हाउसेस ने जब पास कर दिया और उसके बाद प्रेसिडेंट ने भी अपना सिग्नेचर दे दिया है, राइट, दैट्स व्हेन अ बिल बेसिकली बिकम्स द लॉ, राइट? एंड बिल डज नॉट कम इनटू इफेक्ट, it is going to become an act, and that act will come into effect. And like I said, we have 2 new laws and 1 amendment to an existing law. That is the Trade and Commerce Act, the Price Assurance Act, and the Essential Commodities Act, right? Okay. Now, if you've been going through the newspapers, if you've been watching news debates, whether it is on the Nation Wants to Know channel or some other channel, ये कुछ important terms हैं जो आपने जरूर सुना होगा. You must have heard these terms in the previous few weeks and months. One very famous term that has been part of our national discussion over the last couple of months is, what is MSP, or minimum support price? Minimum support price, of course, is a very integral part of India's current, and it's been part of at least almost half a century. It has been part of India's agricultural policy, more than half a century. It is basically, what it means is, there is a minimum guaranteed price. There is a minimum guaranteed price which the government is willing to pay, right, for the purchase of certain agricultural products, for the purpose of purchasing agricultural products, right? Now, even if the market value of those goods, of those products, they drop below a certain point, right, भारत सरकार या स्टेट गवर्नमेंट और whoever it is, वो अपना मिनिमम जो प्राइस गारंटी की है उतना जरूर पे करेंगे, whether it is for products like say wheat, or rice or whatever. In any case, the government will definitely pay the minimum guaranteed price, and that minimum guaranteed or support price which the farmers will always get is essentially what the MSP means, right? That's the concept of MSP. Now, like I said, historically, some of these things that you should remember. The MSP system was started in the 1960s, right? And the regulation of MSP and the calculation initially, right, was to be done by the Agricultural Price Commission. Agricultural Price Commission बनाया गया. MSP कैसे कैलकुलेट करेंगे? तो wheat का अलग होगा, राइस का अलग होगा, पल्सेस का अलग होगा. अगर जिसमें भी हम MSP प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, it has to be calculated on a certain basis, right? Agricultural yield कितना होता है, total sale कितना होता है, input cost कितना है, fertilizer का खर्चा क्या है, वो सब देखने के बाद we will calculate. Who is we? We is basically, which is that body? That body is the APC, or the Agricultural Price Commission, which was set up in the year 1965 on the recommendation of the L.K. Jha committee. So you should also remember this name of this committee. Agricultural Price Commission जो पहले करता था, Agricultural Price Commission का ही नाम हमने बाद में चेंज कर दिया. It was later renamed as the Commission for Agriculture Cost and Price, because सिर्फ price actually देखना नहीं है ना, हमें input cost भी तो evaluate करना है. So we just renamed it, right? But it is, the idea is the same thing. वही एल.के. झा कमेटी के रिकमेंडेशन के बेसिस पर ही, right, both these bodies, whatever, this body which was renamed later as the CACP in 1985, it was set up in 1965, right? Let me just take a quick look at the chat as well. Aparna, okay, Abhishek on the YouTube chat has a question. Sir, after Lok Sabha is passed the bill towards Rajya Sabha, how much time to get approval to move toward president? So in case of something like the farm bill, जो ये 3 बिल राज्यसभा में गए हैं, इट इज नॉट मैंडेटरी कि राज्यसभा उसको पास ही करे ना. ऐसा हो सकता है कि राज्यसभा में मोशन फेल ही हो गया. दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी वेरी पॉसिबल, राइट? इफ इट इज एग्जिस्टिंग, इफ इट इज नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम एंड इट गेट्स पास, देन दैट्स फाइन. बट ड्यूटी टू पास तो वैसे भी नहीं है ना. सो आई डोंट थिंक दैट वुड बी, आई कैन गिव यू अ टाइमलाइन, बिकॉज वो राज्यसभा पे डिपेंड करता है. हाँ, अगर मनी बिल होता तो राज्यसभा में वोटिंग होने के बाद अगर पास नहीं भी हो रहा है, then also automatically it will go to the president. The Rajya Sabha's vote essentially does not make much of a difference, right? Sir, MSP falls due to natural calamities and many other reasons, right? No, so Sarah, I think the whole question is that natural calamity पे dependent ही नहीं है MSP, right? Minimum support price is something which is guaranteed by the government. तो वो earthquake हो गया, ये हो गया, वो हो गया, वो कुछ भी हुआ, हमें फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. सरकार ने गारंटी दी है कि हम इतना तो आपको पे करेंगे ही पर किलोग्राम, राइट, या पर क्विंटल या जो भी है. सो दैट्स समथिंग which is purely up to the government, right? Okay, then we have a couple of more questions. Sir, what about the violation of procedure in the Rajya Sabha? And tell me one thing, the way the farm bill was passed was constitutional or not? So let me start by saying every law which is passed by the House with appropriate voting and so on is presumed under the law to be constitutionally valid, right? Now in this particular case, जो एक ऑब्जेक्शन आ रहा है, ऑब्जेक्शन ही यही है दैट स्टैंडिंग कमिटी के रिकमेंडेशन वगैरह नहीं लिए गए, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, एंड वॉइस वोट में करना नहीं चाहिए था, एंड सो ऑन, is not constitutionally valid. Well, first of all, I personally believe वॉइस वोट तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली वैलिड है ही है, पहली बात. दूसरी बात, स्टैंडिंग कमेटी का वो सब होना चाहिए आइडियली, बहुत ही अगर ऐसा है तो होना चाहिए, बेटर होगा अगर होगा. बट व्हेन यू आर सेइंग समथिंग इज अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल, राइट, तो उसका एक अलग थ्रेशोल्ड है, and I personally believe that threshold has not been met, and I believe the law is not per se, it is not unconstitutional, but it is for the Supreme Court to ultimately make that decision. Right, so let us wait for the Supreme Court to give their final verdict. Abhi to khair expert independent committee has been formed, and that committee is going to look into a variety of other factors, and then sort of let's see कि farmers भी agree करते हैं कि नहीं, and so on. So there are still steps pending, but constitutionality पे itself तो अभी कुछ Supreme Court ने नहीं बोला है कि unconstitutional है. So we will presume, right, stay order है तो stay है, that's fine. But otherwise तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ही बताएगा ना. Okay, what is the majority to pass any bill? Simple majority is the answer. Shivani, Karan says strength, president can't refuse or can't Yes, president can send the law back to the parliament in for ordinary bills, but for money bill, the president has to sign. President का choice नहीं है, वो अपने आप with effect आ ही जाएगा. But sir, how can they deny the demand for the division of vote? Because the constitution does not make it compulsory, Naman. वो mandatory होगा तब तो. Otherwise, if you think there is a violation of constitutional process, then you simply go to the Supreme Court. And anyway, Supreme Court में already case pending है ना. Okay, Aparna says, I don't think Supreme Court has the authority to do so unless it violates fundamental rights. No, no. If it violates any constitutional procedure, then also the Supreme Court has every right to stay and even to declare it unconstitutional. It is not only for fundamental rights, it is for every other thing. Right? Okay. And sir, can the procedure of the parliament or any of the activity of the parliament be questioned in the court? Parliamentary procedure is not subject to, because there is parliamentary privilege and so on. But if something is compulsory under the constitution, right, or constitutional procedure को follow नहीं किया गया है, then yes, the Supreme Court will have the power to review it, right? Okay, chat is completely gone haywire. Let me take a look at the Gradeup chat also. The app chat also has a few questions. I'll take a couple of minutes to look at these as well. I think the committee is not infinite. Okay, so that is, I'm not going to talk about that one. So किसी को, because there, I mean, Kisan Union के भी लोग हैं, बाकी भी लोग हैं, so I don't know. Can you give MSP, explain MSP with an example? हाँ, अगर फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैंने 1 क्विंटल चावल प्रोड्यूस किया है, चावल का प्राइस अगर 2 रुपए भी हो गया है, सरकार गारंटी दे रही है कि वो 1 केजी का कम से कम 6 रुपए पे करेगी. सो आई डोंट नीड टू सेल इट इन द मार्केट, आई कैन सेल इट टू द गवर्नमेंट थ्रू द APMC मंडी सिस्टम, एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोडक्शन प्रोड्यूस मार्केट कमिटी. Right? If president doesn't like any bill, so if he's not signing it, it's called pocket veto. Yes, if the president sends it back to, when do government buy them? Government buys them every single day. लखनऊ में फॉर एग्जांपल, लखनऊ की अपनी मंडी है, तो आप मंडी में जाएंगे तो वहां पर गवर्नमेंट का ही आउटलेट है, यू कैन डायरेक्टली सेल इट टू द गवर्नमेंट. व्हेन, मतलब देयर इज नॉट अ डेजिग्नेटेड डे कि आज ही खरीदेंगे और सोमवार शाम के बाद नहीं खरीदेंगे. दैट इज नॉट द सिस्टम. इट हैपेंस ऑन अ रेगुलर बेसिस, राइट? ओके, let's understand now what are the key changes, right? What are the key changes that happened under the 3 laws? So for example, एक तो है Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act, right? Now under this act, जिसको हमने कहा कि हम इसको TC Act बोलते हैं, वरना हर बार इतना बड़ा लिखना पड़ जाएगा. So for the sake of convenience, first important thing is that the farmers are now, and I hope everybody is listening very carefully, because this is where the main changes to the farm laws have happened. पहले अगर किसी फार्मर को अपना ही एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोड्यूस बेचना होता, right, then the farmer has to sell the agricultural produce only within the designated APMC मंडी, राइट? अपने ही मंडी में बेच सकते हैं. Now what this law has done is, if you have produced rice, for example, in Uttar Pradesh, you will have the freedom to sell it even in Kolkata. You can sell it outside your APMC मंडी, outside your designated or regulated territory. सिर्फ वहीं पे बेचने की जरूरत नहीं है. आपको जहां बेचना है आप वहां पे बेच सकते हैं, right? That's one change. The second is you can do electronic trading also, right? जैसे हम इक्विटी का बॉम्बे स्टॉक मार्केट में ट्रेडिंग करते हैं, right? Similarly you can also sell it through the ENAM website. नेशनल एग्रीकल्चरल मार्केट का इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मार्केट है, वहां पर आप ट्रेडिंग कर सकते हैं. यू कैन बाय एंड सेल. जहां पे अगर यूपी में चावल सस्ता मिल रहा है and you are based in Kerala, you can buy coconuts from Kerala sitting in Lucknow, and you can buy rice from Punjab sitting in Karnataka, right? So you would have all of these freedoms to do that. Again, earlier this was not allowed because you had to sell it only in your own designated mandi, right? So वो पहला change हो गया. Then we have it prohibits the state governments from levying any charges or commissions for sale outside APMC mandis. So abhi bhi, just to sort of clearly understand what I'm saying, it is not as if कि एक किसान अपने APMC में अपने मंडी में नहीं बेच सकता, अभी भी बेच सकता है, right? That's not a problem. The only difference is अभी अगर मैं अपने मंडी में छोड़ के कहीं और बेचना चाहूं, then also I have the freedom to do that. अपने मंडी में जब मैं बेचता था, when I was selling it in my own designated APMC, then there are commissions that had to be paid, there are certain taxes and levies that were imposed for the right to be able to do the trading at the mandi, right? Now because we have made a change to that, what we are saying is state government ने APMC बनाया था, पूरा एक फैसिलिटेट किया था, अपॉर्चुनिटी प्रोवाइड की थी, तो कहीं अगर वहीं बेच रहे हो, अगर आप वहीं बेच रहे हैं तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट जो अपना चार्ज करती थी वो अभी भी चार्ज कर सकती है. However, if somebody sells it outside the APMC मंडी, तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट अलग से उस पे कोई चार्ज नहीं इंपोज कर सकती, because that is not something that specifically एक फैसिलिटेटिंग मैकेनिज्म स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने नहीं बनाया है, राइट? APMC स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने बनाया था, तो वो अपना कुछ चार्ज कर रहे थे. अब वो वहां मैं नहीं बेच के कहीं और बेचूंगा तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट चार्ज नहीं कर सकती. इवन टुडे उसी APMC में बेचूं तो चार्जेस लगेंगे, बाहर बेचूं तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के चार्जेस नहीं लगेंगे, राइट? So on the face of it, at least it seems like we are simply providing additional opportunities. We're simply providing additional opportunities for the purpose of this liberalization, so to say, in terms of where you can sell and where you cannot sell, right? Okay, few comments coming in. The committee members and by them. Okay, so Uttam, it seems, so 90% of the farmers have limited land, about 2 acres, so they don't have any profit because they will pay a huge amount of transportation. So that is something which is addressed in the second thing, that you can do contract farming with corporates and so on. So we'll have to evaluate ultimately कि क्या है क्या नहीं है. Plus, in any case, the new farmer law is not saying कि आपको बाहर बेचना कंपलसरी है ना. अरे आपको बाहर नहीं बेचना है अगर, तो आप अपने मंडी में बेचिए, रोका कौन है? There is, why are you having this impression कि बाहर बेच सकते हैं मतलब बाहर बेचना ही पड़ेगा? ये तो नहीं है ना. I have the freedom to choose any trade or profession. I have the freedom to choose any trade or profession. Now if I choose not to be employed, I want to remain unemployed, तो वो भी मेरा फ्रीडम है ना. इट्स नॉट सो अगर अपने APMC मंडी के बाहर आप बेच सकते हैं, आपको नहीं बेचना है, आपको वहीं बेचना है, आपकी मर्जी, राइट? सो I personally don't understand how an additional opportunity, an additional marketplace can itself be a problem, right? Itself, I personally don't see the problem per se. Now in relation to the committee members being in support of the farm bill, well, I mean, honestly, if you look at the various committees that made the recommendations for the purpose of these changes, it includes pretty much everyone. So I mean, from Mulayam Singh Yadav to Sharad Pawar, pretty much everybody have made the same recommendation about farm bill, and that these kind of changes are pretty much required. The exact standing committee reports will say that. So like I said, I am not trying to discuss the politics of things. That is an endless discussion. फिर हम लोग आधे घंटे 45 मिनट में नहीं 4 घंटे में भी डिस्कशन खत्म नहीं हो पाएगा, राइट? सो उत्तम, आई वुड प्लीज रिक्वेस्ट यू नॉट टू ड्रैग मी इनटू द, गिव मी अ फोन कॉल प्लीज, and I'm happy to discuss as much politics and bias and so many other things, then on the phone call. But for the purpose of our discussion here, let us stick to law में क्या लिखा है और law में क्या नहीं लिखा है, right? So you can sell outside your APMC, you can do electronic trading, and state governments अपने APMC के बाहर कोई चार्ज नहीं कर सकते. सो मैं अगर किसी कंपनी को डायरेक्ट बेच रहा हूं, राइट, then there is obviously no charge that the state government can impose on that particular sale, right? That's the idea. चलो अब दूसरा वाला एक्ट को देखते हैं. दूसरे वाले एक्ट में अगेन बहुत पॉपुलर चेंजेस हैं, which again has been quite a bit of discussion on that point. This is the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services. तो ये सेकेंड वाला था जिसको हमने कहा था कि हम इसको PA एक्ट बोलेंगे, राइट? PA एक्ट. So now what is the main change? The main change is the farmers are now allowed to sell their produce by entering into contract farming and selling directly to consumers, including companies. So for example, if you know McDonald's is a huge consumer of potatoes, right? बर्गर सिर्फ बेचते नहीं है ना मैकडोनल्ड्स, फ्रेंच फ्राइज भी बेचते हैं, like, and lots of french fries are sold by McDonald's. So if I am a producer of potatoes, I can directly enter into a contract now, which was not earlier allowed by and large. I can now enter into a contract and directly give my potatoes to the to McDonald's. And again, state cannot put any charges or commissions on that particular transaction, right? So Shivam has the obvious question, right? Very important question, that sir, if agricultural crops failed हुआ due to any kind of reason like flood or lack of rain, right, then who will be responsible for that? Because McDonald's is in a position to exploit the farmers, right? So if you look at point number 2, the law provides this PA law itself provides for dispute resolution mechanisms, specifically कि कैसे अगर dispute होगा, right, then, and there are various mechanisms within the dispute resolution process where there can be exploitation, and therefore exploitation avoid करने के लिए बहुत सारे provisions already हैं. So for example, if any farmer is ever able to establish कि भाई flood हुआ था, तो फिर कोई liability नहीं होगी, right? McDonald's is not going to get even a single rupee of compensation, right? And so on the YouTube chat, again, there are few critical questions. How can a small farmer will contract with big companies? So how का मतलब क्या है? So the expectation is कि बड़े companies खुद ही जाएंगे farmers के पास. Expectation ही नहीं कि farmer आके McDonald's के head office में लंदन जाके negotiate करेगा या US जाके negotiate करेगा. That's not the point. अब क्या pricing होनी चाहिए, right? क्या नहीं होनी चाहिए, वो अपना सब लोग समझे. वो किसानी कर रहा है 20 साल से, 10 साल से, 2 साल से, उसको आलू का मार्केट प्राइस पता है ना. I'll give you an example. In Uttar Pradesh, and when all of this controversy and hell broke loose, I thought I'll go and check. So I went to the local mandi in Alambagh side में है in Lucknow. I'm just giving you actual facts. यूपी में पोटैटो का एक MSP है, minimum support price is provided for potatoes, but no farmer in UP, no farmer is actually selling potatoes to the government to get the MSP, because यूपी के आलू के फार्मर्स को उससे ज्यादा प्राइस फ्री मार्केट में ऑलरेडी मिल रहा है, राइट? because they're already getting a higher price for their potatoes. Just as one example, they don't really need the MSP, therefore they don't use the MSP, right? They go ahead and sell it to other people, they sell it in the general free market, करेक्ट. सो सिमिलरली, क्योंकि मुझे तो पता ही है मेरे आलू का क्या प्राइस है, मैं उससे ज्यादा तो मार्केट में बेच ही सकता हूं, तो मैं कंपनी से वो एग्रीमेंट करूंगा ही नहीं, राइट? सो इट्स जस्ट and there cannot be the format of what the contract will have if it is a company between McDonald's and a farmer, right? उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में क्या क्या क्लॉजेस अलाउड हैं, किस टाइप के क्लॉजेस अलाउड हैं, किस टाइप का डिमांड अलाउड है, किस टाइप का सप्लाई अलाउड है, all of that is also something that is provided under the law itself. So random conditions हो नहीं सकते उसमें कि अगर तुम्हारे यहाँ ये प्रॉब्लम होगा तो तुम कहीं और से खरीद के मैकडोनल्ड्स को दोगे. If this clause exists in the contract, this clause is anyway void. This clause will not be enforced by any court. कहीं पे होगा ही नहीं क्योंकि ये clause illegal है, right? इस टाइप के clauses allowed ही नहीं है. Under the law, they are providing for these various mechanisms, right? And again, you can join forces with like 10 of your other farmer friends and सब लोग मिलके भी contract कर सकते हैं, right? So inter contract पहले हो गया, फिर company. So everything is basically allowed. You need to think for yourself and figure out what system works for you best. Now I still believe at the same time, having said all of this, मुझे भी personally लगता है that there is one way or the other, there is still scope when you allow really rich people and decently poor people into a transaction. वो घूम फिर के कुछ ना कुछ तो ज्यादा बड़े लोग जो हैं, ज्यादा बड़ी कंपनीज जो है एक्सप्लॉयटेशन का मींस निकाल ही लेंगे. बट आई थिंक दैट्स अ टुमारो प्रॉब्लम or a day after tomorrow problem, and as and when the problem happens we will do more changes. But because this one change itself is obviously, I believe, in the right direction. ठीक है, पहले अलाउ तो करें, उसके बाद जब प्रॉब्लम आएगा एक नया प्रॉब्लम आएगा, अभी कहीं बेच ही नहीं सकते, ये तो in itself also is a problem. So I think it's probably, let's get started and let's see if a new problem comes up. We will of course deal with it as and when things evolve, right? Okay. Okay, ये तो यहाँ पंजाब बिहार के बीच में कैसे झगड़ा हो गया अलग से? Why are protests happening only in Punjab and Haryana? Well, because again, I don't want to make it a political discussion, but a huge portion of the MSP is basically utilized only by Punjab and Haryana farmers, right? As most of people are farmers. No, that's not the reason, Abhishek. I believe it's a little more complicated than that. So, but this is also called cause modernization in agriculture. So that's one of the objectives. That is, in fact, that is one of the objectives of the CACP also. जो MSP का decide करते हैं, वो भी modernization के basis पे ही decide करते हैं कि ये नई टेक्नोलॉजी आ गई है, therefore अब आपका खर्चा इतना कम होना चाहिए, तो आप करिए, वो खर्चा आप कम करिए, आप नई चीजें लाइए अपने जीवन में, right? And increase efficiency, right? And increase reduce the cost of production, and so on and so on and so on, right? Sir, ऐसा लग रहा है यहाँ yeah, probably, I don't know. Okay, let's go to the third law. The third law, जिसमें नया law तो नहीं है, but rather it is a change. It is an amendment to the Essential Commodities Act. अब इसमें क्या मेन चेंज हुआ है? पहले बहुत सारे एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोडक्ट्स पे देयर वाज अ लिमिट कि इससे ज्यादा आप होल्ड ही नहीं कर सकते. तो घूम फिर के होता क्या था कि जो भी प्रोडक्शन एक्स्ट्रा होता था वो भारत सरकार के पास जाता था या स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के पास जाता था. फूड कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया के स्टोर हाउसेस के बारे में आप सबने सुना होगा कि चूहे खा गए हैं, चावल खराब हो गया है, प्याज पड़े खराब हो गया है, एंड सो ऑन, बिकॉज प्राइवेट एंटिटीज वर नॉट अलाउड टू होल्ड बियॉन्ड अ सर्टेन लिमिट, राइट? बिकॉज हर चीज को हम एसेंशियल कमोडिटी बता देते थे, तो इससे ज्यादा आप रख ही नहीं सकते. सो देयरफॉर हर बार सरकार पे डिपेंडेंसी होती थी कि सरकार कब रिलीज करेगी, सरकार कब नहीं करेगी, सरकार अपने पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम को कितना अच्छे से चला पा रही है. So it was the government which was involved in agricultural business, so to say, and private people in a free market economy, right? If you are a farmer and I am a farmer, and Bablu is somebody who is running a kirana shop and sells retail में अपनी दुकान पे चावल बेचता है, तो अब मेरा चावल बेटर है कि तुम्हारा चावल बेटर है, उसी के बेसिस पे बबलू डिसाइड करना चाहिए, राइट? अरे देवज्योति का चावल तो बेटर क्वालिटी का है, वो सस्ते में दे रहा है, तो मैं देवज्योति से खरीदूंगा, राइट? इट्स अ फ्री मार्केट इकोनॉमी. दैट्स व्हाट अ फ्री मार्केट इकोनॉमी looks like. If I produce mobile phones, government does not guarantee a minimum price, right? It depends on how people perceive, whether they think it is better than Apple or not, it is as good as Apple or not, what is the camera quality. Consumers, wholesalers, retailers, they decide based on the ultimate demand कि तुम्हारा प्रोडक्ट अच्छा है या नहीं है, राइट? तो अब स्टोर करने ही नहीं दोगे तो डिमांड कंट्रोल, सप्लाई कंट्रोल, एवरीथिंग गोज बैक टू द गवर्नमेंट. सो दैट प्रोसेस हैज नाउ बीन चेंज्ड. नाउ वी विल रिमूव द स्टॉक होल्डिंग लिमिट्स एक्सेप्ट अगर कोई इमरजेंसी है, एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी सर्कमस्टांस है. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल प्याज का प्राइस 40 रुपए था, अब स्टीप प्राइस हो गया है, 120 रुपए किलो हो गया. If onion prices shoot from 40 to 120, then of course it's something that we need to regulate, where the government needs to regulate. So government needs to regulate मतलब अब तो सरकार कहेगी कि नहीं, अब ऐसा है कि आप होल्ड नहीं कर सकते, प्याज इतना महंगा हो रहा है कि हमें अब पहले प्राइस को कंट्रोल करना पड़ेगा. प्राइस को कंट्रोल करने के लिए हम कह रहे हैं अब आपको भी थोड़ा सा रिलीज करना पड़ेगा, एक लिमिट हम बना देंगे, एटसेट्रा. बट नॉर्मली स्पीकिंग such complications are not really something that we treat as a problem. Normally we are saying now सिर्फ सरकार नहीं रखेगी, जिसको जितना रखना है अपने हिसाब से आप स्टोर करिए, राइट? So now even farmer cooperatives, earlier even farmer cooperatives were not allowed to store beyond a particular limit, right? तो मैं अगर फॉर एग्जाम्पल टमाटर मैन्युफैक्चर किया हूं, मेरे और 4 किसान हैं, दोस्त हैं जो वो भी टमाटर मैन्युफैक्चर करते हैं, लेकिन एक पॉइंट के बियॉन्ड वो खुद ही कोल्ड स्टोरेज में नहीं रख सकते, उनको वो जबरदस्ती जाके सरकार को देना पड़ेगा, राइट? सो देयरफॉर एक कंपल्सरी टाइम गैप हो जाता था कि मुझे अब तो इस पॉइंट के बाद मुझे बेचना ही पड़ेगा, राइट? But now I can do my own cold storage, now I can do my own godowns, I can do my own storage facilities, right? And मैं मतलब अकेले नहीं, मान लो 15 लोग मिलके कर रहे हैं, but at least मेरा प्रोडक्ट मैं अब अपने पास रख सकता हूं. आज नहीं, अगर कल बेचना हो तो कल बेटर प्राइस मुझे लगता है कि परसों मिलेगा, तो मैं परसों बेचूंगा जाके, आज ही बेचने की जरूरत नहीं है, right? And one of the biggest problems that you will discover farmers face, right? That farmers face is usually that there is practically no time gap between when they have to sell and after they produce. वो आज ही जाके या तो बेचना है, मतलब या तो फिर सब खत्म हो जा रहा है, कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो जा रहा है, right? And Yashraj sir, only farmers can store commodities or anyone can store? Anyone can store. मैं होलसेलर हूं मान लो, तो मैं भी तो अपना स्टोर करके रखूंगा. पहले मैंने तब से खरीद लिया, अब मैं स्टोर करके रखा हूं, अब मुझे जब बेचना होगा मैं बेचूंगा, right? Except if somebody is manipulating the market, which of course it does not happen at a small scale. कैसे होगा? I have to, मतलब 1000 करोड़ रुपए का मैं अगर प्याज रख दूं तो जाके भारत में प्याज का प्राइस ही बढ़ जाएगा. Can I really control price of onion as an individual? It becomes quite difficult. या तो पूरा कार्टेलाइजेशन और माफिया टाइप का सिस्टम बना लूं मैं कि सारे अनियन के स्टोरेज वाले मेरे दोस्त ही हैं, वो मैं जो कहूंगा वही. इतना होता नहीं है, सरकार खुद ही इतनी गलतियां कर देती है that sometimes it becomes sort of an issue. And again, अगर कोई steep price rise होगा, then stockholding limits will be imposed again, and government will force the hoarding process to be changed, right? So that is also going to happen. We have of course now gone to the Supreme Court in the second week of January. अब तो almost a month हो गया है. 12th of January was the date on which the Supreme Court finally passed a stay order. So these laws currently are not in force. जब तक सुप्रीम कोर्ट अपना फाइनल जजमेंट नहीं देती है, राइट, सुप्रीम कोर्ट जब तक अपना फाइनल जजमेंट नहीं देती है, इन एनी केस these laws are currently not in force. And I mean, it's a very simple thing. If you simply want to say सभी चोर हैं, तब तो फिर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मैकेनिज्म अब कौन चोर नहीं है वही ढूंढने में आधा जिंदगी निकल जाएगा. But we have a government chosen by the people, we have a judiciary appointed by the constitutional mechanism of the collegium system, etc. So अब किसी ना किसी पे तो you have to say कि अकेला मैं ही अच्छा इंसान हूँ और मेरे 15 दोस्त अच्छे इंसान हैं. It's just not a reasonable mechanism in a democratic constitutional form of government and structure that we have in India, right? Those 10,000 or 5,000 farmers who are protesting are the only honest people and the remaining 139 crore people are bad. ये भी सही हो नहीं सकता. The crores and crores of people who voted for the government or for the parliament members, the entire Supreme Court, everybody cannot be wrong, which is why Justice Arvind Bobde, Chief Justice of India, in the stay order itself specifically said this particular line I really liked, where he told the farmer unions, there is no power on earth which can prevent us from forming the independent committee. We want to solve the problem. We want to understand the ground situation. This is not politics, and you have to cooperate, right? And because otherwise it is anarchy. Who will decide? Are farmer unions going to decide whether the law is constitutionally valid or not? Are they, so they are not, nahi wo kisan sirf wahi kisan hi janta hai. I'm not sure if that's completely a correct assessment, because it's economics aspects that economists know about, there are constitutional aspects that judges know about, and there is the government which understands democracy because they were chosen by the people, not by A person or B person or C person, right? So in a democratic constitutional framework like ours, sabhi chor hai bolna आसान है, but the only solution from sabhi chor hai is jungle raj and anarchy, and तो फिर जिसका सबसे ज़्यादा power है वही जीतेगा. Violence, and that's what. I'm from Odisha, no? There is a very famous very famous understanding of the proverb kind of thing, which says jor jaharo mulak taharo, right? Which is whoever has the might, the country belongs to, or the mulk, whatever, belongs to that person. And this is exactly something that we are trying to avoid when we establish a constitutional democracy. So I would hope that even if you have disagreements, we do it in a reasonable manner, and I think the farmers by and large are certainly following that, with certain aberrations in between. 26 January को थोड़ा ज़्यादा हो गया, but I believe the farmers are, whoever actually is interested in the resolution of the problem, I think they're going about it in the right manner. So, and they have a right to protest as well, it goes without saying. So let's see, अब तो Supreme Court बताएगा finally सही क्या है और गलत क्या है, right? And with that, of course, I just want to remind you guys of the revision courses that we have, the crash course for Maharashtra CET and SLAT, as well as the 2-day special discount, like I said, which we have for today and tomorrow, which gives you an additional 30% discount. Do reach out to our counselors for any queries and so on, and anyone who wants to discuss the politics of these things, feel free to give me a call one of these days, and I will be happy to continue that discussion, not on YouTube, but on a phone call. वरना फिर endless type का हो जाता है ना, right? So that's just I hope I could. I know it's a very, very controversial topic, so I've tried to keep it as much away from politics and simply talk about the legal aspects. Hope it was helpful, everyone. Have a lovely day ahead of you. Please do pass on and sort of share this session to others as well, so that they can also watch it and I can also become a little more famous, right? Thank you very much. Have a lovely day ahead of you. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you very much.